Sometimes we have to do
There
a
it is.
little clean off. And hello, everyone.
A few technical problems. Sorry, we're about 2 minutes late, but actually we started working on this about 5 minutes before we usually do, but took a little technology here. So I think we got going for today. Just like to welcome everybody to the show, Dance of the Soul. You know, we're here every Monday, 4 o'clock. Natasha Venter here for Angelic Clarification also has her show at 4 o'clock on Wednesdays, where she talks about everything medium, right? I mean,
Yeah.
everything about life and everything. Uh,
Well, a lot of emotional stuff and how
yeah,
to persevere and, just those little insights.
yeah, we're both therapists, but we just have different tools that we use. I'm with the Newton Institute, and we do. We're trained in the Newton Institute to get people into a deep state of trance, a relaxed state, which most people can reach. Sounds scary, but most people can reach it rather easily. And in that state, you get to go to your higher consciousness, your soul self. Matter of fact. Uh, we have people that they go to past lives, see themselves pass away, meet their guide or their angel, and then they proceed to spend a couple hours in the afterlife, heaven, the afterlife, whatever people call it,
Mhm.
and there get a lot of answers to a lot of their questions. So it's like having, like, I don't know, 20, 30 regular, human therapy sessions in one, because you actually get to the part of yourself that knows more what's going on. So anyway, Natasha, I know with you, and you're helping people, you're an intuitive medium, which means that
Mhm.
you can sense a lot of things, and you can just kind of connect to the guides, the angels on the other side to help people. So tell them a little bit about what you do, and then we'll tell what we're going to talk about today.
Okay, well, I am one who, has been connected my whole life. And, there's not been anything that can surprise me. And I was talking to a friend the other night about the ark. Hello, Bev. Bev just said hello.
Hey, Matt.
Um, Hi, Bev. That, we're talking about Noah's Ark or the Ark, of Covenant, the
Oh,
golden
Ark of the
ark.
Covenant, not Noah's Ark, but
Yeah,
Ark of the
and
Covenant.
we were, and I had a friend who was talking, and he's very book wise, and he reads a lot and stuff like that, and he was saying, well, there's been told that there's more than one, and it's like, well, yeah, there is, and I said, and one's here, one's there, one's there, one's there, and he's like, how do you do that so fast? And I go, I just know things. Once they pop in, they just are here. And so I love to help people bring the reason for them being here in a way that not the way you do it, but the way I do it. And, life lessons, life experiences, how to persevere through things, how to do those things. And, like Bev, I hope your granddaughter's doing well. I know I helped her, to do the moment in her life and give a perspective. I'm always here to give truth, kind of a little nudge in a different direction if you're having problems with struggling and things. And I do it with no judgment. My saying is, if I haven't done in this lifetime, I've done in another lifetime. So why should I judge? And I know that, Regan, you don't judge either. And that's the thing is that, we today we're going to talk about, forgiveness and love and forgiveness. And it's sometimes so hard for us to go there because, you know, many of us go through so much. And I know for me, that I have to do and had to do a lot of forgiveness. A lot of people know my life story. I have lived with an alcoholic for most of my married years. I've also been bullied a lot in my life, being very dyslexic. People always thought I was stupid, and I always get judged on my knowings, in quotation marks, because of the fact that, they think I don't know how to do it because I struggle with certain things, like at school, I have a hard time with doing assessments, because if kids are reading, I have to read what they're reading and I have to mark if they say it wrong. And I'm always 2 words behind them or 4 words behind them because they're reading so quickly, or there's so many mistakes that I can't catch up. And so it's just discombobulating for me, even though I process well, it's discombobulating. And so with that I get judged in a way because of that story. And so with me, though, I have to work on forgiveness a lot. And, being that my husband, going back to him being an alcoholic, he's been now sober wonderfully. September will be his 11th year. That, that's a miracle unto itself. But, living, almost, let's see, it'll be our 32nd year together, I think. That, there's a lot of negotiations during those years.
Yeah.
And I have a lot to forgive. And I even have a lot to forgive myself because of my passive aggressive, ways. When somebody's drinking, you don't want to stir the pot, but yet the pot gets stirred inside you. And so how do you negotiate that? And so I had to do a little bit of forgiveness. I had to do some forgiveness myself. And, but I can tell you that love is the thing that heals. I've witnessed it. I've walked it. I've known it. And if we can find that avenue, it's amazing how it helps us.
Yeah, we're talking about, Valentine's Day today. This is when a lot of times the people you love, when you start thinking about them even more, you might be thinking about issues that you have with them and why, it's almost like giving that Valentine. Sometimes it's difficult for people today because they haven't forgiven the person that, or there's something off kilter in the relationship that's not been talked about. So, um, and that's funny too. Don't you find in relationships and people that, relationships we've had ourselves or others that anytime that there's some unforgiveness in either side in that relationship, your relationship is stalled. It can only go, it's like your relationship, you can only go so deep as far as being intimate with the person when you haven't forgiven them for something.
Hmm.
And so much has been said about forgiveness. It's a huge thing in the Christian world, in the Bible about, Jesus saying how to forgive people. And we talked about on the show before when someone asked him, how many times do I have to forgive this person? And he says, like, 7 times 700, or I always forget what that is, but in other words, he's just saying almost infinitely, we're in this process of forgiving those who trespass against us in a way,
Yeah, because
um,
it's a dual thing, if,
yeah,
a lot of times we don't want to forget, we have a hard time forgiving because somebody got triggered and said something, but then we were the trigger, and yet we didn't do the wrong thing, but yet maybe we just kind of had a little, little oof to our word back, which triggered somebody more, which, it's like, so really it's the dance of how do we negotiate things.
yeah. And
And
don't we hope that those that we've trespassed against can somehow find it in themselves to forgive us? Sometimes that's harder, um, like we're in charge of who we can forgive and we can control that, but we can't control another people wanting to forgive us for the slights that we've done or the mistakes we've made and everything. So it's, um, it's kind of hard to let go of that, sometimes. But I think one thing they teach in spiritual work is you can only take care of yourself.
mhm.
If you've done wrong to somebody and you've apologized and done everything that you can and you're truly sorry and they still haven't forgiven you, then you have to realize this is, their cross to bear in a sense, you know.
Mhm.
So because we can't make somebody, forgive us. That's why in relationships, trust is so important. So when you break that trust, like in marriages, when a spouse has an affair or has, a secret life, with drugs or, um, some other compulsion or things that they have, and they're having that secret life, um, it's just, it takes the relationship away from reaching a pinnacle, of love. But a lot of times through these things, when you begin to share and you become honest in that with your partner, and you go through some tough times, it allows you to go through that and to actually have a stronger relationship, you know,
Mhm.
because you both learn so much from it. So it's tough. So anybody out there listening now, if you have anything you want to chime in on, like maybe what you do to help to forgive others, or what do you do to try to get others to help them forgive you for something, feel free to chime in. Or if you're watching this in a few weeks or months. Like right now, it's February 13th. Tomorrow, Valentine's Day will be the 14th. And people have like, I've got a nice dinner planned for my significant other and myself. We're going to go someplace we haven't before, and I'm looking forward to that.
And I hope you made reservations.
I did. I was lucky on that one. I found the place because, I thought if I started, 3 weeks early, I'd be okay. But I think I started about 3 weeks ago, and it was place after place after place was booked. But I hung in there and found a unique, different place. So I think it's going to be okay. But next year, I'll just have to start
A
the
little
day
early.
after Valentine's Day this year and hope I can get one for next year. But that's a good thing. That shows that a lot of people are out there expressing their love for somebody, just like Mom's Day, Mother's Day, and all the restaurants are booked. It's a day that people are, giving, special attention to their moms, so that's a
Or
good,
the husbands don't want to cook and it's perseverance that takes the
yeah.
wife out. Yeah.
And
But
we'll
love
see.
shows up in a different way. Love doesn't always show in the way that we think it should.
Well, yeah, there was a time when I didn't, when I was with my wife or significant other, that I didn't really do much on Valentine's Day because I had this thing that it was all, the Valentine's Day was all commercialized and it was just out there to sell flowers and candy. And I thought, well, if you love somebody, and it just felt contrived to me, that way.
Mhm.
And because I had a singing telegram service too, and all day long, you should have seen me. I was dressed in, I did this goofy Cupid character with two teeth. My dentist made me a plate for my teeth where I only had buck teeth in the front. So
Mhm.
you could see two buck teeth, and I was wearing tights, and I had a big heart, like a sandwich board over my head. So, heart in the back and the front. And here
Mhm.
I'm running around in tights all day with its two teeth and balloons
So
and
you're basically done
candy.
by the end of the day too.
And it was fun. I'm like, I'm almost embarrassed to say now, but back in those days, it was what I had the singing telegram service. I had, I think, 8 different types of telegrams, and it kept me really busy. It's
Mm,
back when it was the heyday of singing telegrams.
yeah.
It's the big thing. So I was helping other people. Even on one Valentine's Day, I had one man. He spent $450 on this big. It was a layout of. It was almost of some land, like I think a house he was wanting to build and stuff. And then he had me deliver it to his girlfriend and with a ring. And it was he wanted her, it was his proposal. And he says, well, I'm going to wait around the corner. I want you to show her the ring. And then just as you leave, I'll come up. And she said, no, I don't want to marry him. Oh, that was this like, I was like almost devastated myself because here I'm thinking he knows her well enough to know she's going to
Uh-huh.
say yes and be
Say
all excited
yes.
and everything. And here she just, her face just went down and like, no, I'm not marrying this guy. And I had to take this big old $450 thing that he had made and everything around the corner to him and say, she said no. He was just devastated too.
I bet. Oh my
God.
gosh. Yeah,
So
and
doesn't
that's
always work out.
exactly, but I bet you though that if we trust that process, he probably found someone who appreciated him a little bit more later.
He
And
did as it was because I don't mean to interrupt you, but yeah, you're going in the right direction. About a year later, he had me do something similar, and it was the perfect person.
it
So
was
it
yeah,
had a good ending.
exactly. Yeah, you just never know why things don't happen. But there's this opportunity that, when people understand that, and it's not forgiveness in the sense of that what you did is okay. And that's the thing is that, you can see shows after shows after shows that, forgiveness isn't about saying it's okay, but it's
Yeah.
about moving on. It's about that things change, energies change. And hi Chili, welcome back. Welcome back.
Hey,
Uh,
there's Shaylee.
Yeah, welcome
Yay.
back. So, that's the thing is that forgiveness isn't about that it's okay. Now, I'm going to speak kind of boldly here, and I love my husband. He has come a long ways, but we still have moments. We're in a relationship. We do this, and he has sometimes a trigger moment, and his trigger moments create anger and control, and it he's a double Leo Libra. I mean, it's like he roars. And then Libra is about the scales, right and wrong. And of course he tried to do taxes and he was hungry and it was a long day and it was he was around a lot of people for 24 hours, which is not his strength. And I was making a mess of the house, which is not his strength either. So there was a lot of triggers because I was rearranging two major places in the house, flipping them around a little bit and getting things that were in the same place for about 30 years. So I had to move and do filing and really get into the works. And it was like he started naming some things that were old patterns, and these old patterns, well, why didn't you do this? And why didn't you get that done? And you should have done this better. You know, and all these reactionary words. And, I had to make a choice at that minute. Was I going to move into this in a different way, or was I going to negotiate it? And so, like he was saying something about, well, and I don't know why I'm saying this to you. And I go, because I'm your safe place to fall. I'm your safe place. And I walked around the corner and started making dinner because it was that time of the night. And so, going forward and negotiating some of that story, but the thing is, though, in his old patterns of the alcoholic, and I call them sometimes dry drunk moments, that those patterns, and I have to choose the next morning. Do I stay in that hurt? Yes, I acknowledge that that was not a fun night to me. I communicate to it. I don't communicate. I communicate about the moment, not that he did wrong, but the moment hurt.
Yeah.
And I go back to the moment that hurt. But I had to move on because of the fact that I have learned in our 30 years of marriage that if I stayed back in the old alcoholic pattern, we would not be married today. And he's turned out to be one of the best men I can ever be married to. So knowing that there's this ebb and flow and this thing doing that, it's not an easy place to be. But I can tell you, though, me holding love, sometimes tough love, sometimes a little bit, this is not right, this is a boundary. Like one time he was saying something and I just looked up at the sky or up at the ceiling, kind of going, I'm asking for healing on this and I'm not happy with this. And that action wasn't at him, but it slowed down the process of what was happening. And Bev made a comment here, that if you don't mind reading, Regan, please.
Oh, yeah, sure. Now, Bev says, I learned a long time ago that forgiveness is the gift I give myself. Oh, boy, that's really said well, Bev. That's really said well. Yeah, a long time ago, I learned that forgiveness is a gift I give to myself. I can't make someone accept my apology, but I feel good about myself that I took the initiative to admit my wrongs. Some people that I interact with refuse to accept their roles in our miscommunications. Yeah, that's really good. Well, the biggest thing, the Stanford University did research on forgiveness, and somebody from that project wrote a book called Forgive for Good. We mentioned it on the show before. It's the best book I've read about forgiveness from the standpoint of you need to just you know you just have to do it, because if not, you're going to be sick. They even had a thing in there about how people die, how many years sooner if you've got all the stuff you haven't forgiven,
All this
the
turmoil.
sicknesses, the illnesses you have, because the forgiveness, it's something that's, you know, that person that did you wrong could be out there not even caring a bit, and here you are all mad, and you're destroying yourself because you're not able to move on from it.
Mhm.
So look up that book, Forgive for Good, and it's about all these. It's just fabulous. And there was dozens and dozens and dozens of reasons in there. They were saying, for just do it. Just take that chain off you. Um,
Exactly,
you know,
exactly. I mean, I'm having a moment at my morning job where, we have to wear we have to wear, safety vests out on the playground if we're doing duty so that the kids find us, right? Well, I can't wear them. This is the heaviest sweater I'll wear because I have a neck shoulder thing, and so I wear a shawl. Well, a shawl won't fit a vest. And in the morning sometimes when I'm headachy or that kind of stuff and I'm not my better and I forget to put on I have a scarf that I bought that's bright yellow or that
Yeah.
bright green color, and I try to put it over, but sometimes it just ends up like right in here. Well, that's not good enough.
Yeah.
And it might be good enough for someone, but it's not good enough for my supervisors, and so I have to negotiate that. And I did wrong. I didn't wear it the way that I should have, and
Yeah.
so I apologize. I'm doing wrong. Where I was at, I thought I could wear it just here because most people coming at me are to the front, but it's just one of those things that, perspectives are different. We navigate through things. We can be the best person, but the best people still do things that aren't right for
Yeah.
for the bigger picture, and we have to work into it's not necessarily that I don't want to call it that we do wrong, but we may not do right. And that's the thing is people say, "Oh, that's too gray for me," because people who are black and white. Well, yeah, if people are black and white, then it's harder to negotiate with them when you're kind of gray and movable and and fluent, right? So how can we negotiate these things that we may do on the I'm going to call it wrongish side in other people's perspectives? Well, sometimes we have to say, I'm sorry for the thing. Like I made a comment to my husband about, the night before, and it may not have been the right time for him, which I can't apologize for. I
Yeah.
can't, but it was seemed like it was the right time, and in his defense, he feels bad about this already, that he did do that, and so with that, he was a little bit upset with me, but I said I apologize for saying it at that time, but I just wanted to let you know that it did hurt. I wasn't happy about it. And so then later he apologized for the whole thing, that and so there again, love can heal. Love can move things forward. It's that love for ourselves. We have to have love for ourselves, which is part of that. Okay, I didn't do better. I apologize for what I did, and now I'll just do better. I'll try to do better. Or, I love you enough to say, I understand it was a moment, didn't like the moment, that moment hurt, but I'm willing to move on and I forgive the moment. And that's the thing is that I'm learning how to put a situation into the moment more than that person did it,
Hmm.
because if we can go to more of it's a moment, things were said that were wrong, things the action, the energy didn't feel right, if we can put it more that way, it's easier to have a communication with someone else, and it helps in that forgiveness and love dance, because forgiveness and love go hand in hand.
Yeah. I mean, um, we could do even a whole show sometimes on how do you apologize to somebody, you know, because just briefly, I mean, some people are better doing it like writing, like write a letter, because then, and I think that's if it's something really, really serious and there's a lot of different points. Sometimes when you go into an apology and you do it right in front of a person, something you say triggers something in them, and pretty soon you're off and running and you're having a whole nother argument, you know.
Hmm.
So sometimes just doing it, but you have to choose your words very, very carefully. And if you're being truly apologetic with somebody, you can't have anything in the apology letter that is blaming them for something else, or for, in other words, trying to weasel your way out of it, or to try to, in other words, if you when you're writing an apology letter, if you have an agenda where you're trying to um, get back at them still for something a little bit, or you're trying to gaslight the situation, like blame it on something else or whatever, that letter's not going to go over so good. So what I recommend to my clients when they have to write an apology letter to the mate, usually it's their husband, wife,
Mm-hmm.
is to write the letter and then read it over and see, is this just coming from love and acceptance and that you're truly apologetic, or do you have an alternative motive? Are you trying to guide the situation somehow so that you don't have to fully apologize or something? But I tell them to write the letter and then don't send it right away, but wait till the next day. Read it over again. And so many times when they read it again and they'll go, ooh, yeah, this could be misconstrued, you
I
know,
know. That's
and
the thing is that reaction is
yeah,
not always the best cure to have the moment have forgiveness.
no,
And that's the
it's
thing is
best.
it's not necessarily forgiveness on, the action being done, but it's that I want I just want to move on, moment. I just wanted, do what we can do better moment. And that's that thing about going forward and doing that dance. It's interesting. And sorry, I looked away for a minute. I had an important text that I had to finish
Yeah,
send back to
that's
somebody,
okay.
so I
Well,
apologize. And that's the thing about going forward is that, it's taking that moment. And my mantra is one that right now it's like I'm asking for healing on this. And what that does sometimes is that I'm asking for healing on this, on the moment of the ripple effect of ouch. Like the conversation I was having with my supervisor. I'm asking for healing on this just so that I cannot feel carry that. Oh God, I wish I would have said this. Oh shoot, I wish it kind of shifts that energy field around something, or and it helps to shift the energy that, because sometimes when we have an ouch that happens, we have that impact of energy in the house, or in the doing. And then we have, we walk by a certain area and oh, and we keep, bringing up that ouch. But if we ask for healing on this, it helps to ease that energy movement around.
yeah, when I apologized to someone I was in relationship, and I was living at another place and I had needed to apologize. And when I wrote the letter the first night, and then I started thinking about, wait, am I really coming just from my heart? Am I trying to manipulate anything at all? So I waited till the next a couple hours and went back to it. I changed some things, and when I really felt that it was a very sincere apology coming from love, and then I sent it. And then I mentioned this once before on the show, but when I woke up, I had like 10 texts and emails from my significant other at the time, and she couldn't believe it because when she read it, she began hearing celestial music, and there was nothing around. She'd run to the window. There's nobody around. There was nothing on her house. When she'd sit back down and start to read it again, she started hearing this beautiful celestial music,
Mhm.
and that's when that was a big lesson for me in spirit, as far as a big growth thing for me to realize that I have that capability of being truly sorry for something and coming from my heart 100%, without trying to manipulate or change or do something that way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that just
human
shocked.
nature to trying to manipulate. It's really
Yeah,
human nature, and I have to catch myself on that too, because I'm human as much as I'm a spiritual being, and I have an understanding of the perspectives, but I'm still a human being, and sometimes my humanness is hurt.
yeah,
Sometimes my humanness is hurt, and how can I not react to that? And that's the thing that keeps causing problems. You see family hurts, family issues, when we go back for Thanksgiving, or we go,
yeah.
having get-togethers, is that it's hard not to bring up those past hurts. And if we can just say this is, we're not there anymore. We're here now, even though we have some tendencies still, we still have some same triggers. We still have same negotiations to do in our personalities. Yet at the same time, though, I we each have some learnings that we've done. How can we apply those learnings to doing better with our families, with our soulmates, with our friends, with our cohorts, with a lot of beings?
Yeah. I wanted to talk about today too, because Valentine's Day being tomorrow, we're talking about this thing about forgiveness. In the research with the Newton Institute that we've done with these, we've had 70,000 people visit heaven, go for a couple hours and come back. And one of the things that, like when I'm doing that with clients in a session, um, about 90% of the time they're able to visit what we call their soul group, which are a group of souls on the other side that they regularly incarnate with. In other words, of all the trillions or whatever amount of souls there are on the afterlife, over whatever we would call time here, you become close to a certain group, and they're like, I look at them as like an acting troupe or something. They're people you love to spend time with and different things. So you're going to find out that these people that you're wronging and the people that are wronging you, uh, a lot of times are part of this group. And a lot of the times, a lot of this is been pre-planned to come down here, where someone's going to come down and be in your life and be a thorn in your side, even though on the other side they're like your best friend. But they're going to come down here and they're going to, maybe you need to learn patience or something. So they're going to come down and do everything they can to make you feel impatient, and a lot of times it's unconscious in both parties, being in the physical body. But once they leave this body and they get back there, they just, it's like they go to the local heaven tavern and have a pint and and talk about it and said, "Boy, I really came down and bugged the crap out of you, didn't I?"
Uh,
And you got all mad and I did that. Wasn't that hilarious? And but look what you learned. You know,
yep,
look what you learned from
exactly.
that. Hmm.
Exactly. I know for me that, talking about my loving husband, that, and I mean this every time I talk about him, because he's been my greatest teacher. And I am so grateful for him.
Yeah,
That's one thing I want everyone to know is that my significant other has been, my greatest teacher. I can't tell you he's my twin flame. I can't tell you if he's my soulmate, but I can tell you he's been one of my greatest teachers. And,
yeah,
being able to step beyond a moment to know that this is sometimes, I've had personal implosions in my relationship, but every single one has brought us to be our greater good, has brought us to another level of understanding, to another, because of the fact that, we had a down moment on Saturday, but, Sunday it was, we were back together again in unity. And that's the thing is that it took forgiveness and it took love on both parts to negotiate to get there. And I can tell you that I'd rather be there than in the old triggers, and I know that there's a payoff. I know that there's emotional payoffs for being in that, drama.
yeah,
There's a lot of people who don't know how to do anything else but be in drama. They don't know better to do better. And I'm not saying that drama is, you know, you know, you know, the wives of the basketball teams and all that kind of stuff. I'm not talking about drama in that way, but there's real drama in life.
yeah,
It stirs up, it's emotions, and I want to honor the moment of drama because it is real. Yet at the same time, though, that drama is something that when we get stagnant in it, it doesn't make it easy, and it's better to move on. And like Bev said, some people that I interact with refuse to accept their roles in our miscommunication, because it is two sides of every
yeah,
coin. It's not a straight line. It is different perspectives. It is different humanity. Like I was saying on my show the other night day that, there's what, 8 million people in the world? Well, there's 8 million perspectives, billion, billion, 8 billion perspectives, 8 billion personalities.
hmm,
Because everything is made up differently. So, how do we negotiate this? By adding a little spice and pepper of love and forgiveness. That is really the only way to work through life.
yeah. When I have clients on the other side, when I've been there twice, it seemed like, I mean, all the communication was telepathic. In other words, they're before accountant. Like another thing besides the soul group and a life between life session, clients get to go before a council, which seems to be there just for them, and they'll answer any questions that you have about your life, you know, um, about your mission, about what you're supposed to learn in this life, all that kind of thing. And then when the session's over, they kind of realize that they're asking the question, but it's kind of like they're not really moving their mouth, or because they're
Mhm.
just spirit at this time. So it's all telepathy. So I'm just wondering if if this world was more on, we were communicating telepathically, um, that would be it's great, crazy world. I mean, would people be hearing all of the thoughts that we don't say, that like our angers and everything, and they would be able to read our thoughts? And because a lot of times we know that it's something that's our problem, but there's something the
But we
reason.
have things going off in our own
Yeah,
head that we don't want
they're gonna
people
hear.
to know.
I don't
And
know how
that's the
that
thing,
works.
is that if somebody has a good discernment, it doesn't come out,
Yeah,
because
or
that's the thing, is we got to be human, and sometimes we have emotions, and
yeah,
we have to have them babble somewhere. It's okay to have some language babbled somewhere, but what do we do with it is our responsibility. And
yeah,
that's that whole part of, moving on from a situation, is that scream into a pillow. Why is it? Look, aren't you listening to me? And then, in a pillow, and then go and have a conversation saying, you know what, babe, I know we're miscommunicating right now. I don't know why we're having these situations. I know that you're probably a little bit triggered from things, and I'm a little triggered from things. We're both tired. How can we do better? How can we
yeah,
do better? I love you. I'm forgiving this moment that we're having right now. See, I didn't name the people. I said I'm forgiving the moment we're having right now. And I love you. How can we shift this? How can we
yeah.
shift this?
Wow. Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, it would be strange if because the thing we learned, when I did the 3 years of anger management in my 40s, which totally, say, changed my life. Learning how to deal with feelings of anger. Because the first thing, because I still have feelings of anger nowadays. But it's like I've learned how to deal with it so that I don't do anything destructive to myself or anybody in my life. I would say for the vast majority of times. So you still have those inside, and like, I'm just glad that people I'm angry with don't hear from me what my initial thought is before I go through the process of like, wow, I realize that I'm angry, and I realize I'm just about to say something that I'm going to have to apologize for later, because whatever. And then you just kind of learn to take that internally and everything, and then as you calm down, then you're able to communicate better, or able to say things in a way uh, that's not purposely hurtful to somebody,
Mhm.
that way.
Exactly, and
Um,
that's what I call discernment. I
yeah,
call, because there's discernment. What do I say? How do I say it to someone else? There's also discernment inside of ourselves. How do I negotiate this communication? It's not about what it like for me, being intuitive. Sometimes, I can't walk up to somebody and say, "Hey, your grandfather is saying such and such and such and such." Because sometimes they don't believe in that. But sometimes I have to use discernment and discern how to say it. And sometimes I'll walk up to someone because I'll get a feeling and say, you know what, I just want you to know you're loved. You're looking like you're having a day, and I just want you to know that you're loved. you know so I'm giving a message from their grandfather, but I'm not necessarily telling them. So that's discernment. But at the same time, it's discernment with ourselves. Oh, what am I thinking? Do I need to say that in that way? What is my intention behind that? Oh, let me think about this a little bit differently. What is my purpose in this whole process? What is my purpose in this relationship at this moment? Am I supposed to be the bigger person, or am I going to be the inner child that's screeching and yelling?
yeah,
It's like, what is speaking at this time? And I can tell you the times that I haven't checked in with that. who's wanting to speak, my inner child, my anger, my frustration, or my disappointment, or sometimes it's my dyslexic self that's being triggered, and I have to be careful with her too, because she can be reactionary. So how do I negotiate some of this dance? And that's the thing about forgiving thyself for what we think. It's okay to think things.
Oh
We
yeah, let's
have to
talk.
have it's like a coffee pot or a teapot. It has to let off steam. So it's okay to have thoughts. Now, what do
Yeah.
you do with them?
I know with a lot of my clients, one of the hardest things that they have to do, they've forgiven, you know, their parents or lovers or whatever, and they're doing pretty good on there. But then all of a sudden, when it comes to forgiving themselves, they fall apart. You
Mhm.
know, they can't even say that they love. When we doing the tapping, where you go to a point and you go, even though I did this, even though I have this horrible thing going on right now, I love and accept myself. They can't even say that.
Mhm.
And they've done some things. I had a man come to me one time. I was had a booth down in San Diego where I put up to get therapy clients and a free speech area there, so I could put up a little 10 by 10 booth and had my signs out and everything. And I was doing handwriting analysis for people, and then I had my hypnosis signs and stuff up. And After I did this man's handwriting stuff, he just stayed by the booth for about 3, 4 more hours, right until it was time to close. He offered to help me pack up, carry the stuff to the car, and I thought, wow, what a nice guy and everything. And then he he just said, "You're a therapist, right?" And then okay, now I get into what's going on. And he said, I was going by your booth to go the 100 feet down below to where the ocean was. I was going to kill myself. And then I saw your booth and that you were a therapist, and somehow something happened. Anyway, we spent 4 hours in my car doing therapy. I did tapping, hypnosis, everything with him. But he could not forgive himself for deserting his 4 children 15 years ago. He just said he was going out for some cigarettes and he never came back.
Oh,
And he just let his wife be stuck with the kids. They didn't know if he was alive or dead. But in 15 years, he grew up, he changed, you know, and he knows his kids are teenagers, and young adults and everything now. And he's a different person than he was back then. And he wanted to go back home, but he hated himself so much that he just said, I'm just going to kill myself because if I try to do that, they're going to hate me.
mhm.
And it ended up, I took him back. He got on a plane. I bought him a lunch at was it Jack in the Box. He got him some lunch. He gave me the knife that he had, and so he didn't, that he was going to kill himself with. Took him to the plane because he had flew out from Illinois he was going to do it at the ocean.
Mhm.
He was getting away, so he flew. I don't know what happened to him after that, but I don't think he was going to kill himself then, and he was beginning to see that everybody can be forgiven. That he was just in a boat with millions and millions of us who have done things where once in a while we're displeased with ourselves, or we'll say, I hate myself for doing this.
Mhm.
So um, you know boy, I think in whatever what's the big thing in the Bible that's maybe it's the son that goes away and comes back. I forget there's a name for that.
Oh,
uh,
was it Joseph's coat? Man,
Well, this rich man has 2 sons. One of them runs away, takes his inheritance, blows it on women and booze and
mhm.
drugs and everything. The other son is perfectly good, and then the son returns home, and the father welcomes him with
The
open arms.
prodigal son.
Prodigal son. There we go. Yeah,
Thank you.
you know
I love
that's a great
the the
story.
download there.
For people that are Christian in the Bible, that's a great story of how it is with God with whoever's this oversoul that's over us is that we do these things, and when we have this desire to change or apologize or to whatever in our mind, it's like okay, he just like come on, just keep going. There's no, I'm gonna kill you. You're gonna I'm gonna punish you forever. It's like when you're truly sorry and you've changed yourself. We've had certain in our family too, with people like in your family that had alcohol, drug problems, and that we have a large family, and the large, goes way
Mhm.
out. Everybody, and we've had a few instances there where the families had to forgive certain people and some of them didn't want to, and some of them eventually did, when that person really did turn around and change. And then you have to like forgive that stuff of the stuff they stole and all the wrong things they did, because now they're on a path of, goodness. And it's even me, with one person I had a little bit of trouble, like, I remember when, but then you see that they're trying their best and whatever, and it feels good to just finally just kind of let it go, you
Mhm.
know?
Because I'm going to say though that, forgiveness doesn't mean that it can't that we're going to put up with it.
Right.
Like if my husband started drinking again and being the old person again, because he would
Yeah.
slip back into that old person, does that mean that I'm going to just put up with it? No.
No.
I have boundaries. I have good boundaries. I have awarenesses. And that's the thing is that I'm choosing my moments to shift things, and that part of forgiveness doesn't mean that I'm gonna allow things to happen again. Oh no, no, no! It means that the action of the moment is forgiven, so that I can move on. Yet don't call me stupid.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm not gonna say though that I also, whenever he goes out in the garage that it's like I smell his breath every time he comes in. No, because I have trust, and I have
Yeah.
trust that even if he goes back and does the same thing, that I have trust that I'll be okay. I
Yeah.
have trust that the universe has always made it okay for me. And so with that how do I negotiate this is by having trust in the moments.
Yeah.
And I have trust in him more and more every day because after 11 years, there's more and more trust that built up. But there's been times when he was freshly sober, maybe days after. And I had to say, I can't trust you, but I can trust the universe that they're
Yeah.
showing me that this is going to be a different moment for us. And how can we negotiate that? How can I move forward? Doesn't mean that I'm going to say that, well, what you did was okay, but I'm going to move on. And that
Mm.
was the trick on how do you persevere through something is that you say it's going to be different. It has to be different. I'm not going to allow it to be back there. Yet at the same time, I'm not going to hold on to what was happening back then because I know better to do better. So don't mess with me. Yet at the same time, though, I honor you for where you're at now. And
Yeah.
I'm going to believe in you where you're at now.
And let's reiterate again now too, because I think the hardest thing some people have forgiveness is they think if they forgive somebody that they're saying that the behavior that they had or what they did was okay, but we're not saying that. We're
Mm-mm.
not, just when you forgive somebody, you're not saying, oh, that was just fine what you did to me, or this we're not excusing their behavior, because that's never right. But we're just saying gosh, I'm just so glad people have been in my life, when I was in my younger life, that the stupid things I did is that in my youth, and that people forgave me for that, because that allowed me to move on. I mean,
Mhm.
just feeling that feeling that forgiveness. Uh,
Exactly. Like I was, doing my Facebook, little blurps here and there, and there's a short video on how this one woman had a child, and I'm gonna be. This is an overview of a witnessing, not necessarily in the story. I don't know the story, but somebody was drinking and driving and killed the family member.
her husband.
Um and so while he was in prison, that she wrote a letter to the judge and says, I forgive him for what he did. Doesn't make it right what he did,
Hmm.
but I forgive what the action, and wrote him a letter. And what ended up happening, because two people who rose above the situation, now this gentleman with her goes speaking into high schools and about drinking and driving, and the cause and effect of it, that this is a cause and effect, but I had somebody who believed in me enough to know that I wasn't that person, that, now we're doing something good for it. And, that's that whole point of that. It's not about staying down here, staying at that lower level. And like Bev said, I learned a long time ago that forgiveness is a gift to give myself. I can't make someone accept my apology, but I feel good about myself that I took the initiative to admit my wrongs,
Yeah.
and it is about going in and saying, you know what, I apologize. I'll do better. I'll try to do better. Please give me that opportunity to do better. And, everybody deserves that if they're willing to do the walk to do it.
Yeah.
If you say, please give me a chance, and then you don't do anything, well, cause and effect, but you can't blame somebody for holding you there. You've held yourself there. That's the
Well,
thing, is that we have to take responsibility for ourselves.
yeah. I and I really think sometimes the hardest thing, and just what you were saying, is when we've done something to harm somebody else, like the people that drive drunk, end up killing somebody. I know personally of a person who was a teenager. Had a bunch of teenagers in the car. They were all driving drunk and crashed, and the person sitting in the next seat to him there is still to this day. This has been about 20 years ago. Still paralyzed from the waist down.
Mhm.
And to just forgive yourself for being a teenager that was drinking and gosh, teenage boys, especially when I look, I go, just get them through those years. They're so brain
Yeah.
dead at a certain point,
Yeah.
these college, like there's things that some of my clients have done during their college years, and they're still trying to forgive themselves for, of that way. So, the only thing we can do, I think you and I can do with these clients and that we get to have these hard issues, is to try to let them see that the person they are now is not the person that they
They
were then.
were.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and just like when we forgive other people because we realize, like, people have had parents that treated them wrong or something, and the biggest step you can make is realizing that your mom or your dad was working with the best that they could do at the time with what they had or knew, and how they were as people. But 20 years later, gosh darn, I've changed. I'm just thinking, parents have changed, everybody's changed. So we have to reboot our computers and go, okay, this is now, this is
Mhm.
not then, and let's go by what people are doing now. So many times people, like, I've had a few of my clients that have made up for fathers that sexually abused them, that 20, 30 years later somehow they've made up, and the fathers were very apologetic, and it changed. A lot of it had to do with drugs and alcohol, you know.
Mhm.
And luckily, in a few cases that I have with clients, they've been able to make up for that, and they've been able to get past that. Um, but sometimes in those instances, nothing's ever said, and you can tell by the way a parent is, that the way they're treating you, they're trying to. What do you? There's got to be a term for that, when people make up, but they don't really say anything about it. They just,
I know, that's a hard one. It's like, they
yeah,
try to make up for bad times. It's like they buy you gifts all the time. They,
and they never, yeah, but you know
they
what
never
it's
say
for.
anything because it's hard for some people to speak. It's hard for
It's
some
hard to
people to
say I'm
speak.
sorry.
Yeah, exactly. But I know for me that sometimes, like, there's sometimes where I just come up and I hug someone,
Yeah,
that I have that relationship with them, and I just hug them, and it just makes things, sometimes we can't say
yeah,
sorry, but we can give love.
yeah.
We can
It's a,
give that heartfelt love because we understand that that person was going through a hard time, and I'm going through a hard time, and let's just make it right.
yeah. Sometimes you just look at each other and go, okay, let's just start over.
Mhm.
And sometimes that's all it takes. But sometimes I say there's that, like, some people say, well, I'm not forgiving until I actually hear the words. And I tell this one person, I say, well, look at all the weight, all the love and the stuff that this person is giving to you and everything like that. And they said that they're sorry. Yes, but I haven't heard the words. They get stuck on that. And I think
Mhm.
sometimes, you don't always need to, you just need to have that energy coming from that person be one of that they're sorry. you know.
Yeah,
So
exactly. I was reading a book. It was the last Nora Roberts trilogy, and yeah, one of the actress or one of the characters of the story was in a relationship with one of the guys, and he was doing something. She goes, look at the small things. Look at the small things, because he's a big man thinking. He was a leader of he was representation of being a leader of the community, and so he didn't have time to do little details. And so she had to think, okay, he opened the door for me, or he was there at the moment when I really needed him, those little actions, no words were said,
mhm.
but until it was the big thing, until it was like, I need words for this specific thing. Well, didn't I give you the earrings? No, you needed to say the words. But it was just, but sometimes we have to have words, and sometimes we got to go with
Yeah,
the interaction, and I struggle with that too a little bit sometimes with scenarios, that sometimes I would like a word, but at the same time, I think that there has to be something that acknowledges that action happened, and how can we negotiate it?
yeah,
How can we make it better? And some people speak in actions, some people speak in words, some people speak in knowing. I mean, it's different ways that people are comfortable, and we have to look at where somebody is and
yeah,
understand who they are. There again, how many perceptions are out there? How many emotions are out there? How
yeah,
many beings are out there that have a different way of negotiating life?
yeah. And in relationships, you've usually figured out, usually know, like with your partner, what type of an apology your partner needs if you want to really do the right thing for her, or for him.
Hmm.
Some of them, like maybe they need to hear it actually, they need to hear the words, I'm sorry. And part of you honoring them would be apologizing in a way that's apologizing for them, not a way that's apologizing to you for the way you want to do it, you
Hmm.
know what I mean? So um yeah, wow. I just, I don't know. I'm just thinking of the years that I have left. I just want to try not to have to do things I have to apologize for, but
I hear you there.
it
I
takes so
hear
much
you there.
energy, and it's like, why, But I still do,
Exactly.
yeah,
Mhm.
working that way. Well, gosh, we're almost coming to the end of the hour here already, just
Yeah.
talking about. I know, and we'll probably talk about this half a dozen times during the year because there's so much to it. And you hear
Exactly,
some stories. We're
exactly.
always trying to learn how to forgive,
Yep. But
and
one thing
thank.
I want people, before they sign off and we tell people how to get a hold of us and stuff, I want people to know that even if you don't have someone tomorrow as a significant other, that please don't feel more unloved because you don't have somebody loving you. Do something for you to love you. You know,
Yeah,
get yourself something, get yourself flowers, if you don't have someone who's significant other, because sometimes even us who have significant others, we still don't get something, you know, it's not always a given that if you have somebody, you're going to get something. So help yourself feel loved
yeah,
by doing something that's lovable for you, because
yeah.
you
Good
deserve
point.
to be loved.
Good point.
That self-love, if we have more self-love, then we're going to have love for the others. So please take care of you. Help yourself know that you do matter, because you do matter. And, everybody has an angel that's saying, you've got it. Love you. You're amazing. So please believe that.
Yeah. I was just had an image of myself standing naked in front of the mirror with a box of chocolate covered cherries. You just go, I love you, Regan. I love you, man. Happy Valentine's Day. I don't know. This crazy.
But that's
But
the point, though.
that's
That's
it.
the
Yeah.
point.
I mean, it's in a way we need to do. That we can't love anybody more than we love ourselves. You know,
Exactly.
so that's an incentive all the time to do whatever we can to forgive ourselves, to love ourselves, realizing that we're perfectly imperfect. As you always have that saying that you've given me that I use quite often now with my clients. Uh-huh. And
Yep. We're all perfectly
yeah.
imperfect, and we're
So
all human. That's the thing, is we have humanness in us because we are human. And so even though we're very spiritual beings, we still have the humanness that gets in our way. And so
Yeah.
please give yourself credit. You've come a long ways.
Yeah.
So
Well,
Regan, how do people get a hold of you?
at visittheafterlife.com, I have a regular therapy practice, and it works well over Zoom. Amazingly so. People don't realize they could be hypnotized over Zoom just as easy as if I'm there in person. But I also use the tapping, the EFT, the eye movement EMDR, and the havening technique, which is wonderful. And they're all energy psychology, which works 10 times faster than talking psychology. So, and
Mhm.
there's some of it's talking, but we're actually doing something to manipulate the energy in your body to get rid of the negative energy that's there, or to balance it out. And it works really, really, really good. So I work with a lot of PTSD people. People have problems with anxiety, depression, that sort of thing. And I'm happy to help you anytime. But the thing I love to do with, and that's on the Visit the Afterlife, is what I'm trained and certified into the Newton Institute, is to get you in a deep state of trance, help you um, expand your awareness to the other side, and get some answers about your life from the other side. That's just, it's life changing for people. So I love to do that. And that could also be done on Zoom. If you're in California, I travel around California. I can see, whether southern or northern, I can fix something up. A lot of people fly in. They've been having some people, just had someone flying from Tucson recently to do a thing, and some people flew up from Southern California. A couple of people came up to do sessions. But uh, anyway, Natasha, how do they get a hold of you?
You can get me at angelicclarifications.com. You can make appointments there on my website, or you can reach me at Natasha at angelicclarifications.com on my email. I do love to support you in this knowing of emotions, life, and right now I've been doing a lot of healing, going back in our personal DNA and our past lives at the same time. And so I've been doing a lot of contractual work and healing work. It's been amazing healing process for the body, for the emotions, and for the mind to do this kind of work. And it's pretty eye opening. I know I've done a lot of that personally myself, and helps me to be who I am today.
Yeah.
So
Oh, and next week. Oh, are you finished that? You got more.
No, and so if you're looking for doing some healing work, that and just learning how to connect the dots. Many times we don't know why something's happening in our life, and I love to help people connect dots in their life. And so go ahead.
Well, I'll just say next week we have I just get a really good feeling about her. She just has this great, beautiful vibe. Her name's Laura, and she's going to be on the show. She was somebody that had the Hollywood lifestyle as a reporter and everything there, red carpet and everything. And then one tragedy after another just began to happen in her life. It took her down to her, broke her completely down. She started having her searching for her spiritual self, and had this amazing awakening where now she's become like Natasha, where she's become like a medium, and helping people. And we're going to talk about, like, part of the show would be about, like, what happens when your life takes a 180. When you're just going along, everything's just fine. So many people have had that. Some tragedy happens in their life, and it completely shifts their life around. How do you deal with that? And she'd be a great example of how she went, instead of on her pity potty the whole time and cursing God, she searched for God more, and what she's found out. So looking forward to having her on the show next Monday at 4. So tune in for that.
Yes. Yes. So we will put a bio up, and you will see who she is. But we're excited about that. We're going to be
Yeah.
having some guests on off and on, and so we're going to kind of shift up our both of our show my both
Yeah.
of the shows here, coming up with a little bit more
Yeah,
interactiveness.
it's good to have. I mean, most of the people we pick are like Natasha and I, where they have a spiritual base for their life, and it's just good to get. You get our perspectives all the time, but we need to get other people's perspectives also,
Hmm.
because
Exactly.
we all have pieces to each other's puzzles, even though if it's a small one or a big one. So we're going to start having some guests on. Should be very, very interesting.
Exactly. So tomorrow, happy Valentine's Day here in the United States. I don't know if it's worldwide. And please know that if your partner or significant other doesn't do exactly what you want, try to have a little forgiveness for them,
Yeah.
because they have a way of negotiating it. You have wants that you want, and sometimes they don't always sync up. So blessings to you, and remember, please love yourself so that you can love others, and love others so that you can love yourself.
Yeah.
Blessings to
We'll
you
see you
on your
next
journey.
week. And you got your show if you want to get more Natasha at 4 o'clock on Wednesdays also.
Wednesday, yes. And
Same place.
actually, you know what? I was meditating with my friend Jupiter. He's from a star planet, that a galaxy that's way out, and he was saying that I wish you would talk about us. So I might talk about some of that
Wow. Okay.
stuff, and because that's where I
Sounds
came
pretty
from, was a
crazy.
plant,
Yeah, it'd be
was a
great.
star system way out there. So I haven't kind of, maybe there might be a little bit of salt and pepper of that in there. So there's been some talk about how star beings are going to come into our world, and
Well,
so
yeah, we'll have to have a show about that. It'd be a little far out for some people, but in the 70,000 different people we've had do past life regressions at the Newton Institute, it's coming up more and more. People are remembering lives as star beings,
well,
aliens,
we have
living in
been.
other dimensions and planets. So we're finding that this world that we're looking at things is just a tiny bit of what the
Oh,
real reality.
we're just. Oh, where's a pencil tip?
Just
Where's
a
a
little
pencil
bit.
tip? We are just
Yes,
the tip of a
that's
pencil.
what it is.
We are, we are. Well,
Um,
blessings to everyone,
okay.
and may everyone feel loved, because you are totally loved.
Yeah.
Blessings to you. Bye now.
We will see you next week.
Oh, and if you're looking for podcasts, we are on podcasts too. So if you know somebody who likes to listen to podcasts, have them look for Natasha, or Life Clarifications with Natasha. Blessings all.
All
Bye
right.
now.
Next week.
Next week, we get to see Laura.